The 6th of August, 1901, Volume 4. The love of the blessed is a property of God, while the love of the pilgrim souls is like a property which he is in the act of acquiring. This morning, after I received communion, my adorable Jesus made himself seen, all in suffering and offended, such as to arouse compassion. I clasped him all to myself, and I said to him, "My sweet good, how lovable and desirable you are! How can men not love you? Even worse, they offend you. By loving you, one finds everything, and the loving of you contains all goods, while by not loving you, every good escapes from us. Yet, who loves you? But, oh, please, my dearest treasure, put aside the offences of men, and let us pour ourselves out in loving each other for a little." Then Jesus called the whole celestial court to be spectator of our love, and he said, "The love of the whole of heaven would not render me satisfied and content if yours were not there united with it. More so, since that love is my property which no one can take away from me, while the love of the pilgrim souls is like a property which I am in the act of acquiring. And since my grace is part of me, and my being is most active as it enters into hearts of the pilgrim souls, can make traffic of love, and this traffic expands the properties of my love, and I feel such taste and pleasure that if it were missing, I would remain embittered. This is why without your love, the love of all heaven would not render me fully content. And you know how to traffic well in my love, for by loving me in everything, you will render me happy and content." Who can say how amazed I was left on hearing this, and how many things I comprehended about this love? But my tongue begins stammering, therefore I stop here.
The 6th of August, 1904, Volume 6. The privation is pain of fire that ignites, consumes, annihilates, and its purpose is to destroy the human life to constitute the divine. This morning I went through a most bitter time because of the privation of my highest and only good. The sorrow of the privation was such that as I found myself outside of myself, the pain of my soul was so great that the pain itself administered such strength to it that it wanted to destroy whatever it found as hindrance to finding its all, God. And not finding him, it would shout, cry, run more than wind. It wanted to upset everything, to turn everything upside down, in order to find the life it was lacking. O privation, how intense is your bitterness! Your sorrow is always new, and because it is new, the soul feels the bitterness of the pain as ever new. My soul feels as if one whole flesh would separate into many shreds, and all those shreds with justice ask for their life, and will find it only if they find God, who is more than their life. But who can say the state I was in? Meanwhile, saints, angels, and purging souls rushed up to me, placing themselves in circle around me, and preventing me from running, compassionating me and assisting me. But everything was useless for me, because in them I could not find the one who alone could soothe my pain and restore my life. And so I shouted more, crying out, "Tell me where can I find him? If you want to have pity on me, do not delay showing him to me, for I can take no more." Then after this he came out from within the depth of my soul, and it seemed that he pretended to be sleeping without being concerned about the hardness of my poor state. But even though he would not bother and was sleeping, at merely seeing him I breathed my life, as one breathes air, saying, "Ah, he is here with me." However, I was not freed of the pain in seeing that he would not even pay attention to me. Then, after much suffering, as if he awakened, he told me, "My daughter, all other tribulations can be penances, expiations, compensations, but only the privation is pain of fire that ignites, consumes, annihilates, and does not give up until it sees the human life destroyed. But while it consumes, it vivifies, and it constitutes divine life in it." End of the reading.
The 6th of August, 1907, Volume 8. She sees nothing but chastisements. Continuing in my usual state, I found myself outside of myself inside a church, and I seemed to see a most beautiful lady with her breasts so full of milk that it seemed that her skin was about to split. Calling me, she said to me, "My daughter, this is the state of the church. She is so full of interior bitternesses, and in addition to the interior bitternesses, she is about to receive external bitternesses. You suffer a little that they may be mitigated." And while saying this, she seemed to open her breasts, and forming a cup with her hand, she filled it with milk and gave it to me to drink. It was so very bitter and produced so many sufferings that I myself cannot explain. In the meantime, I saw people starting a revolution, entering churches, stripping altars and burning them, making attempts on the lives of priests, breaking statues, and 1,000 other insults and evils. While they were doing this, the Lord was sending more scourges from heaven, and many were killed. There seemed to be a general uproar against the church, against the government, and against one another. I was frightened. I found myself within myself, and I kept seeing the Queen Mother, together with other saints, praying to Jesus Christ that he would let me suffer. It seemed he would not pay attention to them, but they kept insisting. Importuned, Blessed Jesus answered, "Do not importune me, be quiet, otherwise I will take her with me." But in spite of this, it seemed that I suffered a little bit. Now I'm going to say altogether that during almost all of these days, as I find myself in my usual state, I see nothing but revolutions and chastisements. Blessed Jesus is almost always taciturn, and every now and then he just tells me, "My daughter, do not force me, otherwise I will make you go out of this state." And I say, "My life and my all, if you want to be left free to do what you want, take me with you. Then you will be able to do whatever you want." It seems that in these days it takes great patience in dealing with Blessed Jesus.
The 6th of August, 1916, Volume 11. Need of Jesus for souls who live in the divine will to multiply. As I was in my usual state, my sweet Jesus came for just a little, and in passing, and he said to me, "My daughter, my love feels an irresistible need for souls who live in my will to multiply, because they are the places of my quarters. My love wants to do good to all, but sins prevent me from pouring my benefits upon them. Therefore I keep searching for these quarters. In them I am not prevented from pouring my graces, and through them the towns and the people that surround them take part in them. Therefore, the more quarters I have on earth, the greater vent can I give to my love, and the more it pours itself out into benefits for the good of humanity." End of the reading.
6th of August, 1917, Volume 12. The divine will renders the soul happy even in the midst of the greatest storms. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus came, and since I was very afflicted because of the continuous threats of worse chastisements and because of his privations, he told me, "My daughter, be cheered, do not lose heart too much. My will renders the soul happy even in the midst of the greatest storms. Even more, she rises up so high that the storms cannot touch her, although she sees them and hears them. The place in which she dwells is not subject to storm, but is always serene and with a smiling sun, because her origin is in heaven, her nobility is divine, her sanctity is in God, and there she is kept by God himself. Jealous of the sanctity of this soul who lives in my will, I keep her in my inmost heart, and I say, nobody touch her. My will is intangible, it is sacred, and all must give honour to my will. End of the reading.
The 6th of August, 1919, Volume 12. The Abandonment of the Soul in God. Value of the acts done in the divine will. I am going through most bitter days. My poor heart is though petrified by the pain of the privation of the one who forms my life, my all. Although resigned, I still cannot do without lamenting to my sweet Jesus, when almost flying he passes before me or moves in my interior. I remember that during these laments he once told me, abandonment in me is the image of two torrents, each one pouring into the other with such force that their waters mix together, and forming highest waves of water, they arrive at touching heaven, to the extent that the bed of those torrents remains dry. The roaring of those waters, their murmuring, is so sweet and harmonious that heaven, in seeing itself being touched by those waters, feels honoured and shines with new beauty. And the saints in chorus say, this sweet sound and enrapturing harmony is a soul who abandoned herself in God. How beautiful, how beautiful. Another day he told me, what do you fear? Abandon yourself in me and you will remain surrounded by me as if within a circle, in such a way that if enemies, occasions or dangers approach, they will have to deal with me, not with you, and I will answer for you. True abandonment in me is rest for the soul and work for me. If the soul is restless, it means she is not abandoned in me. A just pain is restlessness for one who wants to live by herself, doing great wrong to me and great harm to herself. Another day, I was lamenting even more strongly, and my lovable Jesus, all goodness, told me, my daughter, calm yourself. This state of yours is the void which is being formed at the second preparation of the new chastisements which are coming. Read well what I made you write, and you will find out that not all the chastisements have yet occurred. How many cities will be destroyed? Nations will continue to draw up, each one against the other. And Italy? Her friendly nations will become her fiercest enemies. Therefore, patience, my daughter. When everything is prepared to call man back, I will come to you as before, and we will pray and cry together for ungrateful man. You, however, never go out of my will, since my volition is eternal. All that is done in my will acquires an eternal, immense, infinite value. It is like a currency which arises and never runs out. The most tiny acts done in my will remain written with indelible characters, saying, we are eternal acts because an eternal will animated us, formed us and performed us. It happens as to a vase of clay into which liquid gold is poured, and the goldsmith forms gold items from that melted pot. Is it perhaps that gold is not called gold because it has been liquefied in that clay vase? Certainly not. Gold is always gold, in whatever vase it might be melted. Now the clay vase is the soul. My will is the gold. The act of the creature operating in my will combines my will and hers, and they melt together. From that liquid, I, divine goldsmith, form the acts of eternal gold in such a way that I can say that they are mine and the soul can say that they are hers. End of the reading.
The 6th of August, 1922, Volume 14. The Divine Will is Balance and Order. I felt all immersed in the holy will of God, and my sweet Jesus, on coming, told me, "My daughter, all things have equal weight for me. The weight of heaven is equal for me to that of the earth. My will contains perfect balance. Balance brings order, regime, utility, harmony. All things harmonize together as if they were one single thing. Order brings equality. Equality brings likeness. This is why there is so much harmony, order, and likeness in the three divine persons. All created things are in perfect harmony. One is the support, the strength, and the life of the other. If just one created thing disharmonized, all the others would roll about and end up in ruin. Only man moved away from us, from the balance of our will. Oh, how man rolled about, and from the highest place he fell into the deepest abyss. And in spite of my redemption, not all of the human family has returned to its original state. This means that the gravest thing is to withdraw from the balance of our will. It means hurling oneself into chaos, into disorder, into the abyss of all evils. Now, my daughter, this is why I have called you in a special way into this balance of my will, so that as you live in it, you may come to balance all the work of deranged humanity. By living in my will, you will balance yourself, you will be in order and in perfect harmony with us and with all things created by us. So since you harmonize everything, we will feel you flowing in the sphere of our will, giving us the order and the harmony of all the intelligences, words, works, and steps of all. We will constitute your acts in our will as the rulers of all the others, and we will be repaid of the chaos of unfortunate humanity. Each act of yours will be the seal of the order which we will receive in the name of all the others. You have much to do in our will. You will be like a queen and will bring us all conquests and all harmonies. Our will provide you with all that is necessary so that you may make up for all and fill the void of balance of the human will, which receives so much harm in withdrawing from the balance of our will." End of the reading.
All to Jesus I surrender, all to Him I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him, in His presence daily live. I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all.
The 6th of August, 1928, Volume 24. How operating in the fiat is source of divine life. Difference from the human operating. How its light empties the soul of all passions. I was continuing my acts in the divine fiat, and while doing this I thought to myself, what is the difference between doing good in the divine will and doing good in the human will? And my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, what is the difference? There is such distance that you yourself cannot arrive at comprehending all the value contained in operating in my divine will. Operating in my fiat is life that the soul takes into herself. It is divine life, life with the fullness and the spring of all goods. For each act done in my will, the soul encloses within herself a life that has no beginning and no end. She encloses an act from which everything springs that never exhaust. But what is it that springs? Continuous sanctity springs. Happiness, beauty, love spring. All the divine qualities are in the act of springing and growing continuously. If the soul could possess one act alone done in my will, and all the good acts of all creatures from all centuries could be put together, they could never equal this single act done in my will, because it is life that reigns in this act, while in the other works done outside of my will, there is no life inside, but a work without life. Imagine yourself doing a work. You put your work into it, not your life. Therefore, one who could possess or see that work would possess or see your work, but not your life. Such is the human operating. It is works the creatures do, not life that they put in their works. Therefore, they are subject to becoming stained, consumed, and even lost. On the other hand, the love and the jealousy of my will for the operating of the soul done in it is so great that it places its very divine life in the middle of that work as its centre. So the soul who does all of her acts in it possesses as many divine lives for as many acts as she performs in my supreme fiat. She can be called the bilocator and the depopulator of the divine life within the endless sea of my eternal volition. Therefore, as much as other creatures do or sacrifice themselves, they can never please me if I do not see the life of my will flow within them. In fact, since their works are without life, the love that always loves, the sanctity that always grows, the beauty that is always embellished, the joy that always smiles, are not in them. At most, they might be present in the act of their operating, but as the work ended, the exercising of their life ended in their work, and I, not finding the continuation of their life in their work, find no taste or pleasure. And I long for the soul who lives in my divine will, in order to find her works full of divine lives that always love. These are not mute works, but speaking. And since they possess a divine will, they know how to speak of their Creator so well that I take all pleasures in hearing them. And I remain with them with so much love that it is impossible for me to separate, more so since it is my very life that binds me to them with indissoluble bonds. Oh, if you knew how great the good is of having called you to live in my will, the prodigies, the infinite riches that you can enclose, the love with which your Jesus is drawn to love you, you would be more attentive and grateful, and you would yearn for my fiat to be known and to form its kingdom in the midst of creatures, because it alone will be the sower of divine life in creation. Then I continued my abandonment in the fiat, and my mind was lost in seeing the endlessness of it, its light that invests everything, its power that does everything, its wisdom that orders and disposes everything. My poor and little mind wanted to take many things from that endless light and sea, but could take nothing but a few drops. And what is more, with terms that were not human but divine, that my little capacity is unable to reduce into words. But while I was immersed in that sea of light, my beloved Jesus, making himself seen within that light, told me, "My daughter, my will is light, and the prerogative and virtue of its light is to empty of every passion the soul who lets herself be dominated by it. In fact, its light places itself within her as centre, and with its heat and vivifying light gets rid of any human weight and vivifies and converts everything into seed of light, forming the new life in the soul, with no seed of evil, all pure and holy, as she came out of our creative hands, in such a way that this fortunate creature cannot fear that she might do harm to anyone. In fact, true light does harm to no one. On the contrary, it brings to all the good that my vivifying light contains. Nor can she fear that she might receive any harm, because true light is untouchable by even the shadow of evil. Therefore she has nothing left to do but enjoy her fortune and spread to all the light that she possesses. End of the reading.
The 6th of August 1933, volume 32. How the Celestial Queen grew together with the Divine Will, and how she possessed the speaking Sun. Joys of God in the creation of man, power that he gave him. I'm always in the arms of the divine fiat that now stops me in one of its works and now in another. It seems that it wants to make me comprehend well what it has done for our love. Therefore, while I went around in its works, it stopped me in the act of the conception of the Virgin. Since the divine will had its prime place and grew and diffused itself in those little members, so the little tiny queen herself grew. Both of them grew together. What happy growth, what great prodigy. The divine will abasing itself to enclose itself in the littleness of the Holy Virgin in order to grow together. But while I remained amazed, my dear divine teacher, surprising me, told me, "My good daughter, to make the Celestial Queen live in the divine fiat was the greatest, most heroic, most intense act of love that our Supreme Being did. And for however much our goods are immense and innumerable, to give our will to live in her, we could not give her any more, nor add anything else, because with it we gave her everything. And she formed in herself the fount and the source of all the divine goods, for as much as it is possible for a creature. Now, as the sovereign tiny one grew, by growing together with our will, so she formed in her soul, in her heart, in her works and steps, so many speaking sons, that with voices of light and of irresistible love spoke to us. They spoke to us so much. They spoke to us of love. They spoke to us of our divine being itself. They spoke to us of mankind. Her steps spoke to us, her little hands, the heartbeats of her heart that with voices of light reached even into our divine bosom and spoke even within us. Her speaking never ceased. Since our volition lived in the Celestial Queen, she had its being all speaking, that not with human voices, but with ancient and divine voices, always had something to say. It never is exhausted. Even more, because the divine fiat is word, an operating word, creating word, how could her speaking cease if she had it in her power? Therefore, her speaking held us besieged, enraptured, surrounded on all sides, occupied in a way that she rendered herself irresistible and invincible, so as to give her what she wanted. Her word was powerful and made our power cede. She was gentle and sweet and made our justice yield. She was light and imposed herself over our Supreme Being, over our love, over our goodness. In sum, there was nothing of ours that did not sweetly yield to the powerful voices of this celestial creature. While my sweet Jesus said this, he made me see the Celestial Queen, that from within her heart a sun went forth that invaded the whole celestial court and the whole earth, and its rays were formed with the most refulgent light, with speaking voices that spoke to God, to the saints and angels, to all the creatures of the earth. In fact, my celestial Mama still possesses her continuous speaking, her speaking sun, such that with voices of speaking light, she speaks about her God, and she loves and glorifies him divinely. She speaks to the saints and acts as beatifying mother and bearer of joy to the whole celestial court. She speaks to the earth, and as mother, she makes the road for us in order to conduct us to heaven. And my beloved Jesus added, "See therefore what it means to live of divine will. One acquires the doing, speaking, and continuous love. What goes forth from within my will has the operating, illuminating, and continuous virtue, and therefore they are triumphant acts that conquer God." After this, I continued my rounds in the acts of the divine fiat, and I stopped in the creation of man and offered the same divine acts that he did in creating man, as well as those of innocent Adam, in order to impetrate the kingdom of the divine will. And my highest good Jesus continued to tell me, "My blessed daughter, as you offer our acts in creating man and those of innocent Adam in order to impetrate the kingdom of my divine will, so you have repeated for us the joys that we experienced in creating man, and you have formed new bonds of union between the divine will and human will. They are our same acts that formed the place for where to create man, and they administered life to him in order to animate him. So our same acts will form the way in order to let him re-enter into our will. Therefore, the offering of our acts is armed with power that makes us decide to give what the creature asks, even more, because they are bearers of joys to us, but so much so that they give us in feast. And who does not know that in feast one abounds in giving gifts never given before? Now, you must know that in not one other thing created by us did we experience such joy as in creating man. But do you know why? Neither to the sky, nor the sun, nor the stars, nor the wind, and all the rest did we give the power of being able to give us our heartbeat, our love, our life. If we gave ourselves, but they do not have the power to give us anything. Therefore, the joy of receiving, no, it does not exist in the other created things. At the most, the joy of giving, but not being exchanged, the joy remains isolated and without company. On the other hand, in creating man, we gave him the power of giving us our life, our eternal heartbeat that beats and gives love. It was such joy of ours to give this power to man, to feel our heartbeat in him, and to give our life at his disposal in order for him to be able to love us with a divine love. In fact, man could make us happy and exchange us with his joys, and joys that could be on a par with ours. Then in seeing our life in him, in feeling our heartbeat beating in him, we experienced such joy that we remained ecstatic before a portent so great as the creation of man. And now, offering to us these acts of ours, we feel the joys and the sweet memory of this creation being repeated for us. Therefore, repeat your offerings if you want to give us joys and incline us to giving our will reigning on earth. End of the reading.
The 6th of August, 1938, volume 36. Exchange of life between the divine will and the human. Victory of Jesus. There is no greater offence than subtracting oneself from the divine will. The speaking creation. Divine heartbeat and breath. Necessity for God to speak to the creature. I feel the need to give myself continuously to the divine will. I'm like the little girl who looks to the lap of her mother to take shelter in it and stays there safe, all abandoned in her arms. But as I was thinking this, My beloved Jesus, visiting my little soul, all goodness told me. My little daughter of my will, you look for your shelter in me, and I look for my shelter in you, to enjoy my creature and rest in her, so that her love may defend mine from all the offences of creatures. You have to know that each time the creature enters my will to do her acts, I give her my divine life, while she gives me her human life. Therefore she remains provisioned with a divine life for each act done in my will, and I remain honoured and glorified, surrounded by many human lives, since one act in my will must be complete. I give all myself, not keeping anything of my supreme being, and she gives me all of her human being. What good does the creature not receive then by possessing many of my divine lives? As she keeps repeating her acts, so many of my lives are added, and I give virtue to free her life, to be able to say, so many lives I gave her, as many lives she gave me. I can say that I find all my satisfaction only when I see her giving me her life in every instant, giving her will. Seeing her giving me her human will is my greatest triumph, and taken by love, I sing my victory. Victory that cost me my life and a wait of around 6,000 years, during which, with so many anxieties, bitter, ardent sighs, I yearn for the return of the human will into mine. Having obtained it, I feel the need to rest and sing my victory. Therefore, there is no more beautiful joy that she can give me than living in my will, and there is no greater pain she can give me than subtracting herself from it. I feel this offence coming in the sun, in the wind, in the heaven, even in my womb, to see the great gift of the human will that I gave to the creature, and that was to serve for the exchange of love and life between me and her, being converted into a deadly weapon to wound me. What pain! Now the soul who comes to live in my will makes such a harsh pain disappear. How then could I not give all of myself in her power, give her what she wants? Then he added, my love for one who lives in my fiat is such that as the creature feels the need to breathe, eat, move, I feel the need to form one single life with her, since my will living in her transforms her in my breath, my heartbeat, my motion, my food. See then how much I need her permanent union with me and inside of me. Otherwise I would feel the breath, motion, heartbeat and food of my love missing from the whole of creation. Oh, how bad I would feel. Since one who lives in my will is inside our supreme being, she is the speaking, moving, palpitating creation, who in the name of all created things brings us the food of love that all should give us. We can say that our love feeds all created things. Therefore we feel the need to receive the return of love, not to remain on an empty stomach, and only one who lives in our will, who embraces all and loves us for all, can feed us with her love in return. How beautiful it is to see the creature picking up our love, spreading through the whole creation, even love that has not been taken because of human ingratitude. Then she brings it to us, to give us the food of love in the name of everyone and everything, enchanting the whole of heaven. And we welcome her as the bearer of all our works, returning our love. In her we can repeat all our marvels. Then with more tender affection he added, my daughter, our love for one who lives in our divine fiat is such that it is easier for a mother to separate herself from her daughter than for us to be away from this creature. We cannot do it. Our will unites her to us and transforms her in us, making her want what we want and do what we do. As soon as she enters it, my will carries her everywhere, giving her a place in all created things, to keep her everywhere and always united, and to say, in how many ways do you love her? It is impossible to be without her. In order to do it, we would have to separate ourselves from our will, but we cannot do this either. Therefore, I give her her place in the starry heaven. How beautiful it is to keep her with me in that blue vault, in the infinite extension of heaven. No ending point can be seen. I tell her the story of our eternal love that has no beginning and can have no end, neither can it change at all. Since our love never ceases, we take the creature from all sides, from above, from below, from the right and from the left, to stud her with our love. Just as heaven covers and hides the whole world under its star-dotted vault to keep it sheltered and covered, so our immutable love beyond heaven keeps everyone covered and hidden in the heaven of our love. We feel the need to tell the creature how much and how many ways we love her, and in order to be loved, she forms refreshment for our love. As she loves us, though she is small, she gives us a heaven of love, and with her repeated acts of love, we feel as though studded by many stars that pour on us love, love, love. See then how necessary it is for our heart to give her a place in every created thing, to tell her the distinct love story that each created thing contains. I give her the place in the sun, and oh, how many things I tell her about our Supreme Being, our inaccessible light, investing all with its ardent love, investing and then hiding in every fibre of the heart, in every thought and word. With my light, my balm, I purify and embellish the creature, forming in her with my light brighter than the sun, my life of love. And she feels my light. Through this light, she wants to enter into the most intimate hiding places of our Supreme Being, to love us and to be loved. How beautiful it is to find one who loves us. Our love finds its refuge, its rest, its expression, its return. Therefore, we give her a place everywhere, because in each created thing we have one of our love secrets to tell her. How many things we still have to say, and if the creature does not live in our will, she won't understand us, forcing us to be silent. Now you must know that as the creature does her acts in my will, many suns arise, and since one act in my will is so great that it cannot be without doing good to all, these rising suns run in the middle of the peoples, bringing to some the kiss of light, to some strength, to some they put darkness to flight, to some they prepare the way, to others they make all to good with the voice of the source of light. An act in my will just cannot be without producing great goods. As soon as the sun rises at the horizon to become with its light, light for every eye, it runs to mature the plant, give colour to the flowers, purify the air, to give itself to all, almost renewing and strengthening the earth, forming its joy and feast. So if it did not rise, the earth would wear mourning, bursting into tears. More than sun is an act in my will. Its light runs and benefits all, renewing and strengthening all in its light, except those who would not want to receive it. And even if they did not want to receive it, they would be forced to receive the good of the light and of the sun, forced to feel its heat by the empire of the light. Such is the empire of one act in my fiat. It cannot be without operating prodigies of grace and immense goods. Therefore, one who lives in our will does all. She embraces everyone and gives us everything. If we want love, she gives us love. If we want glory, she gives us glory. If we want to speak, we have one who listens. If we want to do great works, we have the one in whom to do them, who will give to us in return. This is why I want you always in our will. Never leave it. End of the reading. There are no more readings today.